Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Marketing Matters. I'm Sarah Touchstone, Landmark Title's social media marketing strategist and educator, bringing you Marketing Matters live every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. We've got Joe Worthy with Foundation Up Home Inspections. Did I get all that right?
Home services.
Home services. Oh, I was going to say, it's a mouthful.
It is.
What Joe does for homes, servicing, inspections, really is all encompassing. His name might be a mouthful, but so is the service that he renders for realtors. So Joe and I are actually in the same B&I group. We've worked together in the past. He is a wealth of knowledge and has some great connections in this industry. So I asked him to come on and do a quick little Q&A session with us. Joe, we're excited to have you on.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to stop sharing. You and I are going to be all big on screen and ready to go. All right, Joe, let's go ahead and dive into some of these questions. And of course, guys, if you have any questions, even right off the bat, utilize the chat or the question and answer window. All right, Joe, first question. Are there any specific red flags or common issues that often come across during a home inspection, and what should realtors be aware of?
Well, one thing we always like to tell our realtors is focus on, just the selling of that house. But when you walk up to that house, there are a few things that can be some red flags. The very first thing, if it's a one story and some two stories, if you've got a shingle roof when you're walking up, so you know that it's a little bit of an older home because all the newer ones have tile. If that roof is shiny, you're probably looking to you're going to need a new roof. That's the fiberglass matrix that's starting to show through, which makes that roof shiny. It looks neat. It's all sparkly like a vampire, but it's really not. It's starting to wear and starting to show its age. Some other things that you might want to look for when you're walking around, you look at the exterior of the home. Buyers are always wanting to look at those. You want to look at the ground kind of near the foundation. If you see the ground sloping towards the foundation or the stem wall, and near the hose bibs, you see a lot of water standing or where water has been standing. Or you see water on the walls, you want to kind of be aware of that, because that means that there could be a chance that you're going to have some settling in the house, because wet ground likes to settle. It will cause some structural issues. Now, we don't get a lot of wet ground in Arizona, so it's not very common. But what you will see is hose bibs that leak, and that will cause water damage behind the stucco. Or if you have T111 siding, which is a wood siding, you'll see that to start to deteriorate, and that will cause other issues. Some other things that you want to look for is rust stains on the wall. If you see rust stains up high on a wall, they've had HVAC issues in the past. So you want to kind of look at that condenser when you're walking around the house. If that condenser is all rusted out and you see rust stains on the wall, they probably have an HVAC issue. And also when you go into the garage, typically that's where the water heater is. If you see rust stains on the water heater, even if it's like little trickles down the side, they like to leak right where the elements go into the heater. You're probably looking at some issues with the water heater. So roof, water standing on the ground, HVAC, rusted out HVAC condenser, and water stains on the water heater. Those are the big red flags you want to look at.
Nice. Can you provide some insight into the different types of inspections available, such as pre-listing inspections, pre-purchase, and when are they the most beneficial?
Sure. So the most common inspection is your traditional resale inspection. Buyer finds a house, I love it, they want to get a home inspection. That's what most people know that we do. The other types of inspections, though, that we do, and they're becoming more and more popular, are the phase inspections for new builds. So you have 3 phases to new builds. You have a pre-pour, which is a phase 1. You have a pre-drywall, which is phase 2. And then you have your final walk, which is a phase 3. Those are becoming more popular because there's a lot more new builds being bought since the inventory is kind of low with the resales. Other types of inspections, we have our listing inspections. So if you're a listing agent and you know that you're going to have a house go on the market soon, the coming soon, get a listing inspection. I know that some of them not fear from it, but run from it because if we discover anything major, it has to be disclosed. But at the same time, if we find things, the seller can get those repairs done at their cost in a manner that it fits their budget and not after the buyers had their inspection done. And now we're doing it on the buyer's budget, which is a licensed contractor that's got to do it. So contractors are going to charge contractor rates when a handyman could have done it, and it's much less.
Oh.
We also do rental inspections. We'll do commercial inspections. Our ancillary inspections are a pool, termite, roof, sewer. Some inspection companies do mold and radon. Not super important in this state. We don't get a lot of humidity where mold's a big issue, and radon, we don't have basements here. Radon's pretty big for basements. It can be for wells as well, but it's not as important as if you have a basement. So most important inspections, though, are your phase inspections and your traditional resale inspections.
Speaking of new builds, what are some of the common issues that you guys are seeing right now with new builds? Like, I know that we expect that everything's going to be perfect because it's brand new, right?
Right.
But not always.
Not always. So my favorite story is my very first new build that I did. Me and my partner, we went out and I was training him, and we went out to this new build out in, I think it was like the Chandler area, Tempe area. And we got up into the attic and there was no insulation. And we're looking at it, and well, how in the world would this have been missed? So we're looking, there's they had the thermal barrier on the sheathing, and there was just nothing in the attic. So we actually went to the building office and we're like, hey, what do you guys use for insulation here? So they laid it all out, and we're like, well, you have a house that's missing insulation. We had to let the buyer know. We've actually run into 3 of them, 3 new builds, didn't have any insulation in them. That's not common. What is most common, though, is plumbing being loose in the walls. So when we go and inspect the showers, we'll pull a shower spigot or shower spout and make sure that it's tight, that it's been secured. We'll find those oftentimes that are loose. We will find that the hot water and the cold water has been reversed. What's becoming more common is we're finding GFCIs that fail quickly. So on a phase 3 inspection, we'll find GFCIs that have already failed. And it's not the builder's fault. It's just a manufacturer defect. The most recent new build I did already had cracked tiles. This was a phase 3 walkthrough. It already had cracked tiles on the roof. Now we can't walk on the roof when it comes to a phase 3. We can usually lean our ladder up to the eave. We can look over and we can view it from there. But cracked tiles, I had 1 unit. It was a generations unit, or generations home. It had 2 AC units. Both condensers were failing. Final walkthrough. They had to replace both of them. That's really primarily it. We don't really see a ton, but no matter what, when we do walk through, we will find things. So new builds are fun. They're easy to do. They're relatively quick, but there's always something.
Nice. How do you stay up to date with the latest building codes and regulations? And how does this?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was saying, how does this knowledge affect your inspections and advice you provide to the realtors and clients?
So in general, home inspectors are not code inspectors. We do know codes. We stay up on codes, but we will never cite codes. If you have a home inspector that's citing codes, he's going way outside of his lane. But for us, for our company, myself and my other 2 partners, we've made it mandatory that anybody that inspects with us has to be InterNACHI certified. InterNACHI requires 24 hours of CE units every single year for home inspectors. And you can't take the HVAC course this year and then next year take that same HVAC course and account it towards CEUs. It has to be something new. So we're always expanding our knowledge base through InterNACHI. We also make sure we're reading the newest code book versions. We're subscribed to industry publications. We're watching YouTube videos for new content. The way it helps out is we'll just go with InterNACHI itself. So InterNACHI is huge. It's one of the largest free education services for home inspectors. I just recently did a foundation course through them, and I know quite a bit about foundations. And even just after that advanced foundation course that I took, I learned a ton more that I can actually relay to my realtors and to my clients, trying to make sure that I'm not getting too technical with them. But we look at it from when we do our inspections, we do it from an educational inspection-based approach. I'm not there to tell you about all the bad things that are wrong with that house. I want to tell you what's good about your home. I want to tell you, that structurally it's sound. I'm not going to tell you that, only about the poor electrical that was done. I want you to know that the home that you're buying is good. So we look at it from an educational standpoint and make sure that we're educating our clients.
Awesome. What are some lesser known and easily overlooked aspects of a home that realtors should pay attention to and inform their clients about when it comes to inspections?
The things that get missed the most is just the very simple things, grading next to your home. So the grading next to your home, it needs to fall away from the house. It's the foundation doesn't like water. The stem wall doesn't. Concrete will wick water just like a sponge. It wicks it much slower than a sponge, but it does wick it. And inside that stem wall or inside your post-tension slab, you have steel. And as it wicks in there, it will actually start to rust and decay the rebar that's in the structural steel. I recently did a home last week that when I looked at the stem wall, there was a huge crack in it and what looked like a whole bunch of wood chips. So when I went over there to kind of flick them out, they were all steel. The structural steel had completely deteriorated inside that stem wall and had started to cause it to spall away. So that was just from years of not paying attention to which way the water was standing at the house. Some other things that get missed are the penetrations into the exterior wall. If you can see through the wall from a pipe, you probably need to get that sealed up. I actually went to a home where they did a remodel. They ran a pipe through the wall and they just never sealed it. You could see daylight from the kitchen outside. Those little things will get missed. And the reason why is because people don't really think about that. They knew that they ran a hose out, or they ran a pipe out, or they ran a cord out, and they made it really small and it just barely fit. Well, if you can get air into it, you can get pests into it, you can get water into it, and that causes structural damage to the house. In our monsoon season, when wind drives rain basically through our houses, we get some nasty windstorms here in monsoon season, and it will drive rain through those penetration points. All of our walls here, for the most part, anything over 1975 is all wood structure. We don't use the slump block anymore. That wood structure will deteriorate pretty quick. So we got to make sure that all those penetrations are filled, and those get overlooked all the time.
Nice. All right. And then what advice would you give to realtors to help their clients in preparing for a home inspection? And are there any steps they can take to streamline the process and address potential issues proactively?
So for the most part, this is more of from a seller standpoint. Things that can make it easier for us as home inspectors is make sure the attic access is clear. If we can't get into the attic, we can't determine whether the structure is sound, whether there's leaks in the roof. We need to be able to get into that attic. Now, the older homes, a lot of times they're in closets and there's a shelf in the way, and nobody wants to go in and try and rip that shelf out. So we understand that there will be times we can't get into it, but if it's in the garage or if it's in the master bedroom walk-in closet, make sure that the clothes are out of the way. Make sure that when I open it up, the insulation is not going to fall onto stuff that you didn't want for it to fall on. Nothing worse than putting on an itchy shirt because insulation fell on it. But make sure the attic access is clear. You want to make sure that the water heater can be reached. I went into one house and they had it down this weird long corridor in a garage that I have no idea why it was even there, but it was a long corridor off to the side and I couldn't get to it because there was so much stuff. Now, I also understand, and most home inspectors understand, that when the listing agent says, okay, you got to get all your personal items out of the house. We don't want to see a whole bunch of family pictures and such. It all goes to the garage. When it goes to the garage, just make sure that there's an alleyway to go to the water heater so we can get over and look at it. If you have a car in the garage and the attic access is in there, take the car out. Make sure, and I can't stress this enough, make sure that all of the utilities are on. If we get to the house and the gas isn't on, the water isn't on, the electricity isn't on, we can't inspect the house. Unless the buyer says, no, go ahead, we're going to do it anyway, which makes it almost a pointless inspection. But if the utilities aren't on, then we can't inspect. We have to leave, we wait for them to go back on, and then we charge another trip fee for having to go back out. If we get halfway into the inspection and all of a sudden we find out that the gas wasn't on and we've already inspected half the house, we actually have to re-inspect that house when we come back out because anything could have happened from the time we inspected to when we came back. In order for the seller to be able to, this goes for the buyer, in order for the seller to make sure all that stuff can happen, try and give them 24 hours notice that we're going to come in and inspect. I know because I've been there 7 times buying my homes that the day I get that contract signed, I want the inspector in there. If they can be there that day, I want them there that day. I'm excited. But if we can give that seller 24 hours notice and they can get all that stuff taken care of, it makes things go a lot better. That's pretty much it for what, can make the process easier. And I mean, the best way to make sure that you have the good home inspections, of course, use Foundation Up Home Services or our partner is Precision Property Inspections. That's the best advice we can give. You just use us.
That's really good advice, Joe. I mean, out of all the advice you gave today, that's the best one right there. Yeah. But Joe really is. I mean, Joe, how many years in this industry do you have?
In Arizona, I've got 3 years now. But prior to that, I inspected up in Maine, doing flips and looking at homes and stuff, probably for about another 7 years. So I've got quite a bit of experience. Going from Maine to Arizona was a big change. Homes are way different. But yeah, the principle is still the same. Yeah.
I mean, he's really great. I know a lot of people that use him. And just overall, like I said, he's on top of things. He's got partners. Tell us a little bit about your partnership that you have too, so that you can make sure that you're fully manned staff.
Oh, sure.
And that you can get out there right when we need them.
So we created a veteran-owned business. We are multi-inspectors, so that including myself, we have four inspectors full-time. Availability is never an issue. We usually have an easy 24-hour availability. We have a Spanish-speaking inspector. He's actually one of the business partners, so he's got skin in the game. He's pretty much here. It's not like we're going to have him just go out. I'm going to go somewhere else. He actually is a part owner in the company. We are valley-wide. Matter of fact, I just did one out in Casa Grande yesterday. But we go down to Arizona City, as far north as Flagstaff. We're out past Tonopah. If you can find a home out there, it's mainly just land. But I mean, we cover the entire valley. Foundation Up Home Services covers pretty much everything east of the 17. And then we've assigned Precision Property Inspections to everything west of the 17. Now, we understand that our realtors will cross areas, so we do cross areas. So if I have a realtor that does East Valley but works over in the west sometimes, I still go to the West Valley as well.
When he calls you up and says, Joe, I need you.
Yes, and we understand that that happens too. You know, realtors have their guy or gal. You know, they know who they call and that's who they trust. And for the most part, we try and stick true to that with even in our own company. A lot of times realtors aren't just calling Foundation Up Home Services, they're calling Joe, or they're not just calling Precision Property, they're calling Tom. You know, we understand that, so we respect that, and we make sure that we service our realtors the best we possibly can in that way.
And you do a great job of that, Joe.
Thanks.
Speaking of people using you, could you go ahead and put your contact information in the chat?
Yeah.
So in case anybody has any inspection needs, because I know everybody does, and you're looking for a great partner, Joe really is. I mean, he is much more than an inspection company. He is a partner, an industry partner that you should definitely rely on. And now, guys, this is the opportunity you have too. If you have any specific questions for Joe, a lot of times on these webinars, you know, we'll do a question and answer, and we cover so much great information that sometimes people, you know, they have to digest some of the information before they have questions themselves, I have noticed. So if you guys want to ask any questions live, go ahead, use the chat, question and answer. Or, you know, like I said, if you need some time to digest this information and you want to reach out to Joe personally, you guys now have his contact information. So if you guys think of anything, let me know. I'm going to go ahead and pop back on and finish up with a couple of other classes that we have coming up. If you think of any questions, like I said, while I'm finishing up with upcoming classes, go ahead, type them in or reach out to Joe personally. All right, guys, we've got a Chat GPT and Canva Magic class coming up on June 15th. This is going to be over at the Keller Williams in Goodyear office. However, this is open to anyone. Keller Williams just has a really great training room that we can use for this. So if you're wanting to learn a little bit more about ChatGPT or the Canva Magic, which is the AI features, please come to this class on Thursday, June 15th from 10 until noon. And then reminder, of course, about the Here Comes the Judge series. We've got one coming up on June 15th, August 17th, and October 26th. Go ahead, put those in your calendar, save the date, and we'll get you some more information. And then, of course, save the date too for landmark tours. Coming up, we've got one on July 27th and September 21st. So get those on your calendar. If you guys have any questions, let us know. And Joe, I think that about wraps it up for us today.
All right, well, sounds good.
So thank you so much to Joe for coming on. Foundation Up for all of your home inspection needs. Reach out to him. Like I said, he's a great partner to have. I'm very happy to have him on today and get to utilize him as one of my partners as well. And then, of course, thank you to our business development management team. If you guys don't already work with one of these amazing managers, let me know. I'm happy to make the introduction to Beth, Becky, Melinda, Mary, Patty, whose birthday it is today. So if you work with Patty, give her a happy birthday. Cynthia, Michelle, Michael, and Renee. They are amazing to work with, just like Joe is amazing to work with as well. And then, of course, thank you to Landmark Title for allowing us to bring you Marketing Matters every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Stay tuned for more great information, even through the summer. We keep this going all year round. So summer's a great time to really sit down, think about your marketing and your business plan. You know, it's good to do it a couple times a year. We tend to do it at the end of the year, but for realtors here in Phoenix, summer's a great time too. And then if you're busy, if you're out there working and you've got some contracts coming in, please think of putting Landmark Title on your next contract. We've got 7 offices here in the Valley, 1 in Prescott, 2 up in Nevada to service all of your title and escrow needs. And that's it for us today, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Bye.